Hello, welcome to Sound and Fairy Book Reviews. As usual, I am Tina. First of all, I want to apologize for this mess behind me and over there. You probably saw it in my Stellar Instinct video as well, but I'm getting new shelving. So there's going to be a video sometime this week, probably Wednesday or Thursday, with my new shelves, and I'm going to do a bookshelf tour video where I'm going to kind of show you my shelves as they were and then my shelves as they will be. So that'll be really fun. But that aside, I am doing a book review today of The Prince of the Wasteland by Joseph Sale. This is a sci-fi fantasy post-apocalyptic gritty dark book from 2022 from the Writers Collective. So I messed up and thought this was a self-published book at first, but the Writers Collective is actually like a small press. But you're going to get the review anyway. I guess it doesn't really count as Indie April, but whatever, that's fine. I found this novel because of Liz at the Nerdy Narrative, who posted a review earlier in the month. I didn't watch the whole thing because I wanted to go into it without preconceptions, but just enough to want to read it. So go watch her review too. I bet it's a billion times better than mine. So yeah, as you can tell, I feel awkward sometimes talking about other booktube channels, especially when they have far more subs than mine. Anyway, a rich, visceral, violent romp, The Prince of the Wasteland is one of those post-apocalyptic books that takes the genre from sci-fi into dark fantasy and in a tense and exciting way. What is it about? From the ashes of the nuclear apocalypse, the apostles rule the rubble of New York with murderous intent and otherworldly powers. The leader is the prince, who, with the curse of foresight, dominates the present. Brian Moore, the man in the black hat, was once a loyal apostle, a bringer of death. He has done terrible things in the name of the fragile order, so scarce in the New World. But now he's begun to question the prince's power. There are things he cannot see, and if the prince has lied about his power, what else isn't true? Has his whole life been a joke? Ultimately, Brian Moore has to decide whether the brutality of a fragile peace is better than a chaotic hope for the future, and does one life pay for another? This book is mesmerizing, much like a car crash. You can't look away from it, and I know that's cliche, but unlike a car crash, while it's gory, it's more warped and weird than entirely disturbing. This is, of course, depends on what you find disturbing. A person bathing in sewage versus violence, for example. This book has both. There is no sexualized violence in this novel, though the word for it is mentioned a few times in passing, just so you know. I know me, I always kind of wonder about that when I go into Wasteland books because it seems to be a very annoying trope. But yeah, it's not in here, which is great. It's a very short, extremely easy to follow novel and keeps up a steady sense of dread and tension the entire book. I read the whole thing so fast because I couldn't stop reading it. It's multi-POV, following several characters, some of whom have magical powers and work for Michael the Prince, and two who do not. All of the characters, even the gross weirdos, are so compelling. We didn't get a ton of time with any of them, but all of them are well developed, and their motivations and choices work. I liked all of them somehow, even Splice. Now, perhaps like is not the best word, as aside from Lucy and Dina, none of these people are morally gray. They are full on evil, but some of them struggle with this aspect of their personalities, and as such somehow made more understandable and, if not quite sympathetic, palatable. Of all of them, of course, Dina, an absolute badass, was my favorite character, but all of their narratives are equally fascinating and conceptually rich. It's a book about people who think if they can just restart the world, they can make it better, but they somehow make it worse. The human condition. It's also about manipulation and abuse. It carries such a heavy thematic weight for such a short book. And there's so much to talk about. The magic system is interesting and the different skill sets are fun. They're kind of like mutant powers in a way. The setting is a typical nuclear wasteland post-apocalypse city, New York, but with a drastically reduced population. The plot is kind of all over the place, but in a good way. I did wish we had a bit more time with the how of the nuclear bombs, like how Michael and team were in that position and how he collected and convinced these people to follow him. That part, while not necessary to the plot of this particular story, would have been interesting to know. Overall, though, I mean, that is a very minor critique. I was very enthralled with this book. Now, did I love the book? Not quite love, but I definitely found it fascinating and unputdownable. And that cover is gorgeous. So, yeah, if you're looking for a dark and violent and visceral post-apocalyptic book that's very short, you can probably read it in like one sitting if you really wanted to. I highly recommend this book, and I very much want to thank Liz for reviewing it because I never would have stumbled upon it without her review. So that's wonderful. And yeah, thanks for watching. And I got one more book on my Indie April, and then we're moving into May. And I have a video. Actually, I'm going to post talking about what I'm going to be doing in May. And spoiler alert, it's a readathon. And spoiler alert, it has to do with May the 4th. May the Force be with you. Yes, awesome. Okay, thanks. Bye.